What we are is basically a application for your smartphone. You connect the clients with those people that actually provide transportation. Concept of how we work, you hit the button, a car shows up, and you can go pretty much to any place. Currently in 204 cities around the world in 26 countries.
It might even be more than that now.
Yeah.
It changes every day.
It grows every day, right? So the time to pick up people is about 5 minutes. And basically how that's possible is having our partners who can come and provide that transportation for people, right? To work part-time, on the weekends, a few hours a week, to people that drive 60 hours a week. I have a few people who own basically a fleet of cars, up to 5 or 6, and have up to, 8 to 10 people that drive in those cars on a recurrent basis. And so our platform is really a great, opportunity for people to kind of, bridge that gap from employment. If you are transitioning out, not quite sure what's next, or...
My primary focus for the DC team is on growth, so growing the business from the driver's perspective. And to that end, Lucille is actually a partner with us. She is a driver with UberX.
Hi everyone, I'm Lucille Smith. I am also a veteran. I was in the Air Force for 8 years in my youth. My son is in the Air Force now, he's in Afghanistan, and I've been driving, I've been an Uber driver for about 3 months. And it's a great opportunity. I enjoy it very much.
Here in DC, as a big city and a big potential market, we have the advantage of offering a very broad variety of services. Everything from what we call Uber Corner Store, which is essentially a 7-Eleven on wheels. If I don't have my toothpaste in the morning, I can request that somebody bring me toothpaste and pay them $4 to do so. All the way down to kind of our real bread and butter product, which is UberX. And that is just a very inexpensive, reliable way to get from point A to point B within the city. From the driver's perspective, the way I like to frame it is, a financial advisor would tell you that a car is the worst investment you'll ever make. It just depreciates at a ridiculously high rate. It's expensive, and it really doesn't. It allows you to get from point A to point B. It's kind of a necessity if you want to go to work, for instance. But it doesn't really pay off in any sort of concrete way. Now that's a little different if you can use that, Camry or whatever it is. That's all it has to be is 2004 or newer. You are personally insured on the vehicle, and you can pass a background check. All of a sudden, that car is immediately an investment tool that can generate revenue for you as a person, as a small business. You're instantly a small business owner, and so our app, as a sort of a technology company that we are, will connect you with somebody who wants to pay you for a ride. Uber Black is a premium sedan service, so if I'm a rider and I request Uber Black, somebody will show up in a premium vehicle. They're a professional limo driver. A lot of them have been for 20, 30 years in the city. Intimately familiar with the ins and outs of where to go when. It can be a nicer car, and so the cost of that is a little higher than the typical UberX, which is what a lot of people do use. We also have, you can hail a regular old taxi on the app. Exact same process, you hit request, DC cab shows up and picks you up. And then finally, for bigger groups, we have Uber XL, which is just a SUV version of UberX, and Uber SUV, which is an SUV version of Uber Black. We also have an option called Uber Family. And so if you request Uber Family, somebody with a car seat who's been trained to use that car seat by, believe it or not, a car seat consultant called the Car Seat Lady, will show up and basically install the car seat in their vehicle, help you put your child in the car seat, and then take you where you need to go. And that's just a surcharge of $10 on top of either if it's UberX or Uber Black. So the way that the relationship works between Uber as a company and the people who are driving in the cars is that everybody's a self-employed contractor. What that means is that you're technically using your personal insurance until the moment that you're on a trip, in which case we have a commercial insurance policy that covers in excess of $1 million that same trip. And so every car does have to have personal insurance. There's some exceptions to that if you have a for-hire vehicle. It's kind of complicated, so I don't want to get too much into it, but the vast majority of our UberX partners have personal insurance and just their own personal vehicle. It's almost like you're agreeing to the terms of using the app. So we have users on both sides. The driver is a user and the rider is a user. And so in both of those capacities, people agree to use the app under certain terms and conditions, and that's all included in that. So we crowdsource ratings and sort of quality control. What that means is that every rider rates every driver rates every rider. And what that allows us to do is basically build up a repository of both the rider and driver's behavior, and allows us to make decisions as to whether or not that driver or that rider should be allowed to access the app. So for instance, if you have a 2010 car that maybe should be nicer than it is, and you get on the road, we sort of immediately know from feedback that that car, it really isn't up to our vehicle's quality standards. And we also have a list of vehicles. It's not, the 2004 newer is a general rule. We do have vehicles that say are 2010 that we do not accept. Okay, so in the US, I believe that number of full-time employees paid by Uber is about 1,200.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Now we grow really quickly, and so that number changes by the day.
Every hour.
The two biggest offices is San Francisco, where our headquarters is, and so we have like an engineering team based there, all the way up to our executive team. And then we have a regional headquarters here in DC, so we have over 100 employees here in the DC office. We're actually located in DuPont. And we have there are people who do data stuff, people who do operations stuff, people who do legal and policy, and stuff like that. For contractors, the people who drive the cars, it's a number we don't release publicly. You know, we do talk about earnings and things like that, and so kind of the magic key is, in some sense, if you know the number of drivers, you can kind of back into the revenue of the company. As a privately owned company, it just doesn't.
It is a privately owned company.
Yes, sir.
And what year did it start?
4 years ago.
4 years, wow.
I left active duty in '05 and came here to Washington. And, you know, I came here for college and I had zero clue on what it meant to be like a regular person, right? Like, I signed up at 17, dad's a vet, like all my uncles are vets, my grandfather's a vet. So the only thing like in my life to that point, I had thought about. And then like I got to a point and I realized that, you know, I had to go do something else. And I think back to that 10 years ago, and you know, I came here to DC and just, you know, like I took some classes here and there, but if I had an opportunity like this to drive a lot or on the weekends or something like that, it would have been incredibly helpful for me to kind of do that. And so I'm here, like obviously as a rep of the company, like in a sense because I was asked to come here because I'm a veteran. I'm based in DC. It's very simple. But like I wouldn't have come if it was just like a PR stunt or something like that. And like our platform, it does have a lot of flexibility and a lot of opportunity there, and it's always a question of what you kind of make of it.
I think you just queued up Lucille.
Yeah.
The passengers are trackable. Uber knows who they are. They have their phone number, they have their credit card information, so they're not random strangers that you're picking up, you know, driving down the street. So that gives me a great deal of comfort. And the support that I mentioned, it's accessible if I ever felt uncomfortable and I never have. I do have resources to reach out to.
If, for instance, you have an SUV or a truck and you want to drive an Uber X, absolutely, go for it. Now, gas costs are high, you know, just straight up, it is a business and there are costs and...
Well, it'd be like your Suburban, basically.
Yep. And so we do have Suburbans on there. We have a Ford Explorer, Lucille?
I have an Expedition.
So it all just sort of a matter of, you know, what you feel comfortable doing. If you think you can make it work, I mean, we're happy to try to make it work with you. If I'm a driver for Uber and I refer somebody else to be a driver and they apply through a link that I give them and complete the process and get on the road and do a certain number of trips, it varies by city, kind of varies by cohort, but it's about 20 to 25 trips. Then both the person who signed up and the person who referred them gets either $100 or $150 cash.